All right, welcome back to this fucked up story.
For those of you who haven't been watching our previous videos, we are currently on episode 3 of this visual novel called Crimson Gray, which is, well, we'll just let you check out the links for the previous videos. So if you haven't watched them, go back and do that now.
Yeah, it's pretty worth it. There were some pretty exciting moments.
I don't know if exciting is the word I'd use, but
Yeah.
there was definitely some moments.
Yeah.
Something happened.
Yeah, good times had by no one.
And let's see if we're gonna live through this next episode.
Yeah, so we're back in the next morning of school with our protagonist, John. So in the morning, it all seemed even more unbelievable. John sleepwalked through his routine, half certain that he would find out it had all been a dream. But when he arrived at school, he found Lizzie waiting for him by the school entrance. She looked like she could have been waiting there the entire night.
She probably was.
Yeah, she's probably living in the school, John, or living in your yard. When she saw him, though, her face lit up. John, you're finally here! I've been waiting so long!
Good morning?
Yes, it's a wonderful morning. I spent so long too nervous to talk to you, afraid that you would hate me. But we had such a nice talk, now I'm barely nervous at all.
Yep, nice talk at knife point. That's
Yeah.
no.
At least she doesn't have the knife with her now.
Yeah, we can see it.
But my heart, it still goes crazy every time you get near. John, isn't it horrible that we have to be in a different class? Lovers shouldn't be separated like this.
We're lovers now?
Escalating quickly. Will you eat lunch with me today, please? Won't you? She could sound so adorable. Normally, he'd be happy to have a girl like her asking to eat lunch together, but...
Sure. On the roof again?
No, there might be unkind people there, and you might feel sad again. No, I have the perfect place.
Where is it?
That's a secret. I'll show you at lunchtime.
Underground sex dungeon.
Yes. He really wasn't sure how to feel about that. For once, John had something to look forward to, or dread. He wasn't sure. The minutes seemed to crawl by until it was finally lunchtime. When he went looking for Lizzie, he discovered that she was waiting behind him, completely silent, watching him.
Hi, Lizzie.
Let's go! We don't need to go to the cafeteria. This way. She practically dragged him away from the school and onto one of the paths in the nearby forest. Soon they got far enough that they couldn't hear any sounds from the school.
So they can't hear me screaming when she murders me.
Yeah. If a guy screams in the forest for a murder, does he still make a sound? Oh, why did it go backwards?
What did you do?
That was weird. I hit A. Oh, well, whatever. Here is perfect, just perfect. I picked this spot to rape you specifically. Lizzie faced away from him, giving a soft little laugh. Then suddenly she whirled around, thrusting something toward him.
Is it a knife again?
A lunchbox. I worked really hard on this. You have to eat it. You have to.
It's laced with all kinds of love pheromones and everything that'll make you... Never mind.
I rubbed it all over my body for you.
Okay. Thanks, Lizzie. I'm super uncomfortable right now.
She gave a little squeal and promptly sat down on a small rock. It seemed she had a second lunchbox of her own, but she kept it on her lap until he opened his. John was braced for a horror show, but to his surprise, it was just normal food. It actually looked pretty good.
It's actually made of your dog.
He took a bite, and it tasted good, too. John realized that Lizzie was staring at him intensely as if her life was on the line, so he smiled at her.
It's really good.
Yay! I worked so hard on it!
So, do you want to just eat together, or...
This is a date, isn't it? We should get to know each other more. I want to know everything about you. Like even when you go to the bathroom.
So, do you went back again?
That's, what the fuck is it doing?
Well, I'm nothing special.
That's not true.
Well, let me see what to say.
Despite himself, John found it easy to talk to her. He was sure he was sounding like an idiot, rambling about stupid, mundane topics, yet she listened to every word with rapt attention. It was bizarre to have someone actually care about his life. His father never had time. His friends were busy with their own things. Ms. Smythe was just listening professionally, but Lizzie really cared. He knew that she wasn't well, that her obsession was probably a sickness, yet a pathetic part of him didn't care, was just happy to have someone paying attention to him. Only after talking for a long time did he realize that he was talking about himself like a self-centered jerk. She didn't seem to mind, but he still felt guilty.
Sorry, I've been talking a lot. I can do that sometimes.
Oh, don't apologize. I like listening to you talk.
It's been pretty boring, though. I mean, you already know a lot about me.
I want to know everything about you. I've been watching you a long time. I know all the facts, but I still don't know everything. I can't see inside your head. That's where the important parts of John are, but I can't see them. I plan on getting in there one day, though. I want to know everything about you. I've been watching you for a long time. That goes backwards, goddammit. I wish there was a way to crack your head open. See? See all the thoughts inside. With an axe, maybe.
I'm so uncomfortable. You can always just ask me what I'm thinking, okay?
Yeah, please don't use an axe to get to my brain bits.
Yes. I'll just tell you, you don't have to dissect me. I'm not a science experiment.
Okay, you're so nice, John.
So, Lizzie, tell me about yourself. Let's stop talking about my brain.
Oh, there's nothing to tell. I'm not important. I just want to listen to you more.
Yeah, but if I want to know more about you, don't you want to tell me?
John is so kind. I don't deserve him.
So, what about your parents?
I live alone now, because they're buried in the basement. Neither of my parents wanted me anyways.
I'm sure that's not true. They probably just...
You don't have to make me feel better. I don't mind.
You don't mind that your parents...
My father never loved me anyway, and my mother's dead now.
I'm the one that killed her.
I sleep with her corpse in my bed every night.
My parents separated too. They never made it formal, but yeah, they're separated. Mom doesn't like to visit, and Dad's always at work, so it's like he's not really there.
You mean they just leave you alone? How horrible! How dare they just leave you like that? My mom will never leave. She's in my bed.
Clubs, yes, something else. Are you in any after-school clubs? Literally anything else.
When he wasn't pulling the conversation away from the troubling topics, John actually found himself enjoying their talk. Or maybe he was just happy to be talking to someone and actually managing to pay attention to their conversation. He finished every bite of the lunch without thinking about it. Given the way she stared at the last crumbs while he finished them, that was probably a good thing. Too late, it occurred to him that she might have tampered with the lunch. Yet as she stared at him, so pleased that he had enjoyed it, John couldn't believe that she would do anything bad to him. As soon as he had the thought, he remembered the tree and shivered involuntarily. After school, John had barely gotten out of the door when he spotted Lizzie following him. It seemed as though she was stalking him at first, but when he made eye contact, she gave him a sweet smile and skipped forward. John, let's walk home together.
I mean, we're gonna do it anyway. It's just, it's better if you know about it.
Yeah.
Do we live in the same direction?
No, but don't worry. I'll walk back to my house later. 'Cause like I said, I will follow you anyways. Which meant she did know where he lived. He really needed to be more cautious.
Maybe we could do something else. You remember our promise?
Yes!
Getting medicine and therapy has really helped me a lot. I hope it'll help you too. Yeah, because I'm so much better. I'm dating you. I'm obviously doing way better than I was before the meds. Now I think the easiest thing to do would be to take you to Miss Smythe. She could...
No! No, I hate her! She's awful, and she wants to take you away from me!
Wait a second now. That's not true. She just wants to help.
John is too nice. He can't see what kind of person she is. I have to protect him.
Well, Lizzie, wait. Calm down. If you don't want to talk to Miss Smythe, we can do something else, alright?
How do I go back now? Oh, well. So probably best not to choose a woman. There had to be male Koitek pharmacists in town. Maybe one of them could be prescribed something. But he really wasn't sure how that worked. He had been counting on Mrs. Smythe to guide the process. But now he'd have to figure it out himself.
Lizzie, I need to do a little research first. Is that okay?
Okay, I'll follow you.
Maybe it'd be easier if I did it myself?
No, I don't like that idea.
I'll see you tomorrow, okay? You can bring another lunch.
Okay, see you tomorrow, John.
Oh,
and 10 seconds from now. He hoped that medication would help stabilize her. After all, she'd be cute if... Why exactly was he doing this? He had told himself it was to help her and make sure no one got hurt, but now he was hoping she could become normal and stay with him. Pathetic. He couldn't get a girlfriend normally, and so he had to take advantage of some poor girl's obsession. For now, it didn't matter. She really did need help, and he might be able to get her to it. It was just a question of how. The best way was probably to ask for advice, either from Mrs. Smythe or the pharmacist. He could try to research some himself, though he doubted he'd be any good at it, and he supposed it wouldn't hurt to ask her if she was taking anything else, or had allergies or something. Damn it, he should have done that earlier. Now it was too late to... John realized that she was still following him. He shouldn't have been surprised. Okay, so asking her was still an option. But he only had so much time before he had to get home and do his schoolwork. So he needed to choose carefully. Oh, gods.
Choices.
Talking to Miss Smythe is going to make her mad.
Talking to a pharmacist, we don't have the information.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the best option is just to talk to her, but that could go real bad too.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's a win in this situation.
Well, let's talk to her.
Okay.
John walked along the street until he was sure that Lizzie was slinking after him. He turned and waved to her. She waved back. Hi, John. Did you change your mind? Can we go home together? I knew you.
No. I just wanted to check with you. Are you taking any medication right now? Have you had any bad reactions in the past?
Oh, no. I've never taken anything. My mother always took too many drugs. It scared me when I was little. So I chopped her up with an axe.
I see. Are you sure you're really alright taking medication now, then?
Aw, John is so considerate.
Can you please stop referring to me in the third person?
Don't worry, I'll be fine. I see you take your medicine every day to try to get better. I want to be like you.
Okay, good. I think. I hope it'll help.
I'll take anything you give me, John.
This dick.
Stepping out onto the street, John glanced at his watch and decided he had some more time to research his options. Oh.
Talk to the pharmacist.
John explored the part of town where he thought he remembered a Koitek pharmacy. It turned out his memory was right. It was staffed by a male pharmacist. The middle-aged man gave him a perfunctory nod and listened patiently enough as John described Lizzie's symptoms, without mentioning her directly. I'd recommend Paxitine or Serozine. Either one could...
No, that's not enough.
Excuse me? Young man, I don't think...
I'm on Pax time. This isn't as simple of a problem. I'm worried she might hurt someone.
I see. Is there something you should tell me, young man?
No, I just want to help. I wish someone had made me get some help earlier. I want to be that person for her.
If the condition is serious, I do have 2 suggestions. You'd need a blood test to prescribe either one, though.
What do you suggest?
Either Nilazine or Yondaquil. Nilazine is better if the problem is mental, Yondaquil if the problem is emotional.
Both.
Unfortunately, it was probably both.
Hey, thanks for letting me know about those. I'll see if I can't convince her.
Not many people your age would go out to so much trouble for a classmate. You're a good kid. Strangely, the man's words actually made John feel better. Maybe he really was doing the right thing with all this. It was getting late, and John realized he needed to get home quickly. If he wanted to have time for his homework on his way back, he was sure that Lizzie was following him, but couldn't get a clear look at her. At least it was only one more day until the weekend. Friday passed faster than John had expected. Lizzie was nearby at all times, and they ate lunch together, but things were almost normal. Almost. Just when he started to get comfortable, she would give a giggle that went on a little too long, or slide a hand toward where she hid her knife, or respond far more enthusiastically than she should. Alright, just when he started to get comfortable, she would give a giggle that went on a little too long, or slide a hand toward where she hid her knife, or respond far more enthusiastically than she should. Was it bad of him to think she was really cute despite all that? She could be nice if she wasn't so, well...
Crazy? That shit crazy?
That's one way to put it. But John hated it when his friend suggested he could be fun if he wasn't depressed, and that thought left an ugly knot in his stomach. Well, it wasn't long now. Maybe she could get some real help. He made it through his last class, almost slept through his session with Mrs. Smythe, then headed home. John finished his homework and chores as fast as he could and went to sleep. Going out in public always drained him, and he wanted to have enough energy for the weekend. He woke up too early, eyes gritty and head still mired in half-remembered dreams. John got up to get a drink and happened to glance out the window. Lizzie was standing outside his house with a huge smile on her face. After staring at her for a moment, John groaned and went back to bed.
I'm too tired for this shit. I'm going back to bed.
The second time he woke up, the sun had already risen. He felt a little better, but not much. Normally, he would stay at home all weekend, but he couldn't do that if he wanted to help Lizzie. She was still standing outside his house, in exactly the same place, with exactly the same cheerful expression.
Are we not going to talk about this, John?
He's just like,
really?
Whatever, let her watch me sleep. That's not creepy at all. Oh, John brushed his teeth, got dressed, combed his hair. He realized that he was acting like he was getting ready for a date. True, he had a sort of accepted her confession. John decided that he was just what he'd have to deal with now if he wanted to have a connection with her. Well, at least he was going to go out with a cute girl. He hadn't done that since middle school, and those were childish relationships.
Because this one's not.
Yeah, this is so grown up. Of course, this was the only way he could get a date. Pathetic.
I mean,
a date to the therapist.
He's already dating the therapist.
Big boobs, the therapist. Finishing his preparations, John headed outside. He hadn't noticed from his house, but Lizzie had gotten dressed up for the occasion. He'd never seen her outside of her school uniform, and it made him hesitate for a moment. She'd obviously put effort into making herself look good, and she did it. Oh, and she did. It would have been nice if not for how it made him worry about the level of importance she was attaching to the day.
Can we pause for a second? When did she have time to change? She literally stalked him home in her school uniform, but she's now dressed for the date this morning.
She's probably got clothes stashed in his bushes, just in case they go on a date together.
It's not okay. This is not okay. I just wanted to point that out. I'm sorry. Game logic.
Oh, no.
Jesus.
Yeah, and her dressed up as just a button-down shirt. Maybe she even stole the shirt from John.
Maybe it was his mom's shirt.
Oh. Or her mom's shirt.
The
Because
one she murdered her in?
Yeah, the one she murdered her in.
It has special meaning.
Yeah.
And the pearls that she choked her with.
As soon as Lizzie saw him, her smile became even brighter than it had been while waiting. John, I'm ready!
Good morning, Lizzie. Did you sleep all right?
Oh, I didn't sleep. Let's go! She practically dragged him down the street, apparently heading for the bus station. Yet, instead of looking forward, her gaze was fixed behind her on him. She practically... Oh. Do you have a plan, John? This is our first date. It needs to be perfect.
Didn't we have a first date in the woods? Didn't she
Yeah.
say our date? Shit.
Ah, shit. He should have known she'd treat it this way. It wasn't like he hadn't had enough time. He used to be good at planning. What was wrong with him? Other than clinical depression. God, he was such a mess. Alright, he had to think. He used to be able to think on his feet. He could do this.
So, I want to deal with the medication issue first, so the rest of the day can be fun, right?
Sure, whatever you want.
If we get a blood test, you'll need to wait a while. I was thinking we could get the test first, then eat breakfast, then get the results. That should give us the entire rest of the day.
That's such a great plan. Let's hurry! John was glad to hear her respond so happily, but wondered if she would have said that no matter what he told her. They took a bus across town to the furthest pharmacy and ordered a standard Koitex sampling. He'd been nervous that Lizzie might react poorly to the needle, but she just smiled sweetly at him while they took a bit of her blood, then hopped back up. Look, the Band-Aid has little kitties on it! It's so cute!
You want to eat something now then?
Yes! They walked to a nearby bakery and he bought them a pair of pastries. One of the only advantages of his workaholic father was that he at least had a decent amount of spending money. Lizzie held hers in both hands and began cheerfully nibbling on the end of it. She stared at him while she was doing it, but otherwise she looked ordinarily cute instead of scarily cute, nibbling on the end of it like his penis. Nom nom nom.
She eats it like a typical anime girl.
Yeah.
Haha, I didn't know you could act silly.
Hee hee hee. I don't hear you laugh very often. You usually look so sad, and it makes me sad too. And like that, his good mood crumpled.
I know, I'm always running everything. I don't know why anyone stays near me when I just...
No! Lizzie took his pastry and stuffed it in his mouth to shut him up. You're not depressing at all, John. Just being around you makes me feel warm inside. I just want to see you smile more. When you smile, I feel like everything will be all right. His attempt to talk around the pastry made Lizzie giggle, which made him laugh, which set off a vicious cycle. After a fit of coughing, he had lost half his pastry but regained his good mood. It had been a long time since an emotional downturn hadn't sent him spiraling toward depression. Lizzie grinned at him, and he smiled back at her. All at once, he felt guilty for trying to convince her to take medication. Who was he to tell her what to do? The guy who doesn't walk around with a knife? Worse, was he manipulating her obsession like this? It was only to help her, but did that make it any better? The thoughts troubled him, but they remained in the back of his mind as they finished eating, talking lightly. But then they were finished, and it had been a while since the test. It was time to go back.
Let's go get the results, okay?
Well, will John think differently about me?
No! I just want to find a way to help you, okay?
Okay! She answered cheerfully, but something in the lightheartedness they had shared was gone, and it wasn't coming back. Swallowing, John steeled himself and walked with her back to the pharmacy. Lizzie slowed near the entrance, then shuffled backwards. I'll stay here. You can bring me what I need, okay?
Okay. No problem.
Inside, he found the pharmacist writing something on a clipboard. When he spotted John, he immediately frowned. You're alone? I suppose that's for the best anyway. We need to talk.
Alright, before we find out what's wrong with this crazy girl, we should probably wrap this episode here.
Yeah, that pharmacist has obviously got something important to say, so...
Tune in next time to find out if this girl is actually emotionally crazy or mentally crazy. And,
and or both.
Probably both. Mentally unstable in some way, shape, or form, and they don't have enough medicine to cure her. But anyway, aside that fact, make sure you click the like button, and if you aren't already, please subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode of Crimson Gray. Maybe we'll die.
Yeah, probably.
Probably die.
Probably. Yeah, she's got an axe instead of a knife now. I just feel it. Thanks, guys.
Bye.